Rocken Larry Locken, hey, with the What's Your Opinion show. Shout out to Kenny Jackson, owner of the channel, and also owner of the mothership, Opinion That Facts. I'd like to give a shout out as well to my two channels, Palladium Light Grid Project and Palladium Express Productions. I'm just going to talk real quick today, well, hopefully real quick, because I wanted to get a kind of in a little bit of a break from talking about the Kavanaugh hearings and the Supreme Court confirmation. I mean, and all the shit playing out like that, which, you know, we'll see how that all turns out. But I wanted to talk about kind of the hypocrisy in Pro Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm not even really going to get into the NFL at all. I don't have anything to say about the NFL. I'm very glad. Much love to Kaepernick, and looks like things are going good, and at least he's got a fighting chance too in this lawsuit against the owners for collusion. Yeah, and so, you know, and congratulations to his deal with Nike. You know, history will look kindly upon them. You know, I know Nike's a big corporation, but they have done a lot for my home state of Oregon. You know, especially when it comes to athletics and high schools and stuff here too. Like not just, you know, help with uniforms, but help build new state-of-the-art football fields made out of Nike, you know, made out of Nike rubber from their shoes. You know, kind of an AstroTurf that doesn't, you know, mess up your knees. It's nicer to land on actually than grass. But I hope everybody can hear me. I'm trying to talk a little bit louder, but you look at some things like, you know, let's take a look at baseball. Okay, Babe Ruth for years had the home run record at 714. And then, of course, in 74, Henry Aaron broke it with 715. He ended up with 755. Well, then in 2008, I think it was 7 or 8, Barry Bonds. And I remember watching the game. In fact, we were going to go out to dinner, and I made sure we stayed home. I wanted to see his last couple at bats to see if he got the record that night, and he did. And then he, of course, he retired after that year, but he had 6 more, ending up with 762. But now, you know, they're talking that they'll never allow him all in the Hall of Fame because he even though the guy never tested positive for a PED, okay, I think he like admitted to it one time, like Clemens did in a courtroom. So this is what you got basically, and this is where Kenny and I differ. We don't have a lot of different opinions. We usually agree on most shit, but he is against performance-enhancing drugs. I'm not necessarily for them, but I'm against testing anybody for anything. I'm purely against testing anybody for drugs under any circumstance, unless it's like somebody that's fatal in the hospital and the doctors need to know what they may be on and shit because they're, you know, unconscious. Then I'm okay with it being ran, but I'm not for any, you know, it's their business what they put in their body, and you can say it gives them an unfair advantage. I don't care. I think Lance Armstrong was stupid for admitting to doping in those 7. And I'm very much in the minority on this. I found few people that agree with me when I break it down like that, you know, sure, they're against drug testing at their work, but they're okay with these athletes being tested for shit. And keep in mind, it's not like the steroids of the fucking 70s and 80s that killed all these Russian athletes and killed like Lyle Alzado and John Matuszek and a lot of these people that have bad brain damage now. They're clean, they're clear, they're more, I mean, a lot of these things are like herbal, okay, and they're like banned. So it's just ridiculous. But okay, Babe Ruth never once in his career, never faced an African-American pitcher, period. They weren't in the league. I mean, he was long gone before Jackie Robinson didn't pitch. But he was long gone before like Vida Blue and Bob Gibson, you know, and people like that came into the league. He was long gone. So shouldn't there be an asterisk by him in the Hall of Fame? Shouldn't there be an asterisk by all these NFL? Well, I will mention the NFL. These guys that played in the 40s and shit like Otto Graham and people like that never played against competition, you know, athletically anywhere from 5 to 20 times better, depending. I mean, when you consider everything. Okay, shouldn't there be an asterisk near all that? That's what pisses me off. But yet, they don't want to put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame or have an asterisk by it. Okay, and this breaks from the racialness of it, because this is how fucking stupid they are too. Because he bet on baseball, always his own team, but he bet on baseball. And who cares even if he did? And I don't even give a shit if the guy fixed some games, to be honest. Okay, the guy has more hits than any player, period. He's got like 4,100 hits. Okay, and you get 3,000 in a career hits, base hits, you're a Hall of Famer. The guy had 4,100. So Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. Most hits of all time. Most Cy Young winners ever for a pitcher, 7. Roger Clemens, next closest, Nolan Ryan with 5. Roger Clemens had 7. He's not in the Hall of Fame. They don't want him in because he admitted to one time in court after he retired, he admitted to Congress that he had taken some shit to help an injury. And, I don't give a fuck if he's lying or not. Maybe he did use the shit to make himself feel more youthful. I don't really care. But as far as this is the sickness of it, is we're supposed to live in a free country. The evidence isn't there with them. Okay, like Lance Armstrong opened his mouth and then went back. I mean, the evidence is there, but still, I don't even care. To me, he's still the greatest cyclist to ever live. He had to actually do the work. Barry Bonds is the best home run hitter. Maybe the best pure swing I've ever seen. Well, and Pete Rose, too. And those 3 are not in the Hall of Fame. You got to be fucking kidding me. So you've got a sport where the guy that's hit the most home runs isn't going to be considered for the Hall of Fame as it stands now. Pete Rose, maybe after he dies, he's got the most hits of all time. Okay, like base hits, versus home runs. And Roger Clemens, are you fucking kidding me? 7 Cy fucking Youngs. God. In a couple other years, he probably should have got one. That means the Cy Young Award is for the best pitcher of that year. It's and Cy Young has the most wins ever as a pitcher. He pitched in the early 1900s against all white athletes, and back when pitchers threw their arms out basically and would pitch all 9 innings. Now it's like watching paint dry. They change them every 2 innings. But that's how sports have gotten. The NBA is really the only thing that gets me excited anymore. I had a long talk with an old friend last night, and we were talking. My dog's having dog dreams, okay. But we were talking about how besides all this bullshit and the fucking is going on in the NFL, right? The game even had gotten I mean, I watched 2 minutes of one game last year. Besides that, boycott the whole year. I ain't watching shit this year. Okay, so it's gotten to the point where there's a flag on every play. Everything is reviewed 1,000,001 times. They stop it for this, for that. There's more shit now you can review, and the coaches don't have to use their challenges on a lot of them. So every possible exhaustion is exhausted to get those commercials in and fucking endorsements, probably because they're scared because everybody's live streaming shit now or whatever. I mean, people are still interested in it. I got thinking about college football the other day because I'm a Duck and Canes fan, but I'll watch and kind of keep up with the Ducks a little bit. But the NFL, it soured me to even that, and it's much more than that. Football is always. It's going to be the major dominating sport in America for another, couple decades. But I mean, as more integrated we get, soccer will become more popular and people will get tired of concussions, because it's not just that we know this mountain more now and now. I've been saying this for years. These kids, because I've coached, seriously, these kids they're huge. These kids are getting bigger and bigger and stronger and quicker too. I mean, these kids can not only you know, when we were going to school, some big dude that was strong and a big, good lineman or whatever, you know, but he wasn't that fast. He was real slow. That ain't the case with anybody that looks like that now. They could knock you right over, or they could do a Fred Astaire and a, you know, and a Michael Jackson and a Watusi around you. So, and they got brains to boot, all of them, because their playbooks now, or even junior high, they have to look at are huge. So, I mean, as that progresses, as the speed quickens and the strength quickens and the collision, boom, no helmet's going to help that. The helmet just probably minimizes the headache. I mean, that initial jerk is what gives you concussion. But back on subject, it's just hypocritical, you know, how they don't. But you know, but then again, am I being a hypocrite? Because I wouldn't want to see Kurt Schilling in the Hall of Fame for baseball, because he's a fucking racist. He's a sick fucking racist, scary, like Nazi type thing, racist. He's got like Nazi memorabilia and shit at his house, and you know, but if I got to be fair, if I'm just judging his on-field performances, he had some good playoff games. I mean, I'd have to, he might be one I would think about leaving out for integrity. I mean, to me, that's so much more than anything that fucking Pete Rose did gambling or anything, or, you know, much less the things that they don't even really have any proof on Bonds and Clemens with. But you know what? He is, there are a lot worse pitchers in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame than Kurt Schilling. So I'd probably have to not be a hypocrite and vote him in, but, you know, he'd be the first one I would think about a moral compass on. But, you know, I can't be a hypocrite if I'm going to just judge him on that. If I'm going to say that about, like, you know, no matter what they did, it could be just that, or it could be something as high as, like, say, OJ really murdered Nicole or whatever. And I've always been, the thing is, that to me has no bearing on that he's in the Hall of Fame, right? Or you know, because I think USC was talking about taking away one of his Heisman trophies. You can't do that kind of shit. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't believe in doing it. You know, unless it's the Confederacy. There's an exception to every rule. I do believe in getting rid of all that shit, because it was a fucking treasonous bullshit fucking war started by racists, and all it does is keep division and hatred by keeping that stuff up. There's an exception to every rule, but that's a mass issue. These are all like one-person deals and, you know, shit that ain't a part of our society that's affected us mentally. And, well, okay, fuck the sports fans, but I'm being serious here. It's an insult for me to even compare the two. Okay, so, but what I'm getting at is it'd be like trying to take away OJ's Heisman. So I can't deny it, and that kind of, well, that kind of leads me into my last topic. Let me see if I forgot anything about the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's bullshit. I mean, anybody that Babe Ruth had should have the biggest, fattest asterisk next to his home run record and the 522 wins by Cy Young. I mean, you know, they never, you know, I mean, they didn't even, not only did they not even play with black players, but I can only imagine how the two treated them in general. But I'll save that because I don't know that for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you know, but yeah, Babe Ruth would not have hit 714. He would have, you know, and his tired ass would have gotten worn down a lot more. he would not have been able to. He would at least had to rein his body in a little bit more. He'd have had a semi-good, okay hitting career. He might be a good DH, but yeah, I don't know. And that's in Hispanic players. They didn't have any Hispanic players in the league either. At least I don't think so. And they never faced a Hispanic pitcher. So there you go. I mean, they never faced any of these big guys. Not to say the greatest two pitchers of all time, in my opinion, are White and Nolan Ryan and Clemens. But I mean, got Dwight Gooden and Vida Blue, like I said, Bob Gibson. Fuck, man. I'm trying to think of. I haven't followed baseball in years because it's like paint drying, and I don't really have the time. At least I'll talk about that. The Hall of Fame, I could give a fuck less about the NFL. Whatever. I have no thoughts on the thing, on Terrell Owens, on all that shit, except he was fucked over having to wait all those years to do it. It's a good way to say fuck the NFL that he did that. On the other hand, I feel like it was Terrell doing it for Terrell, not for a cause. That's just my opinion. And I may have said fuck the NFL, but I may have considered taking him up on that one-time offer, saying I'll be there, showing up fucking like rudely late, right? And give just the most bombastic 15, 20-minute speech ever. Fuck saying what you want to say to your critics in the NFL and dropping the mic and leaving. And nothing more to do with it. I might have considered doing that, and just to kind of, I don't know, maybe he was burnt a little bit too about Randy Moss getting in on the first ballot. They both deserved to. I mean, it wasn't Randy's fault, that he didn't have to wait, but Terrell wasn't the first. Chris Carter is totally close to his league. He's one or two at worst behind him on the top list, Chris Carter on T.O. And I'd rather Chris Carter was more consistent than T.O. actually. And so I'd probably rather have him over a career than T.O., to be honest. But, fuck it. I don't have anything really else to say about the NFL, but I did have something really, really, really much more important to talk about than any of that. And this is what we're going to do. Folks, it's imperative. If you have a coffee machine, I'm going to be setting up a petition to send you, or you can go print it out somewhere. We need to get a petition going. And this is the truth. We need to get a petition going to start a white NBA Hall of Fame. A white NBA Hall of Fame. Now, basketball does their Hall of Fame different. Let me explain a different way. They're not like the other three sports. There is a college basketball Hall of Fame alone, but when you join the no, there isn't actually. There's just a basketball Hall of Fame. So you might have never played in the NBA, and you could technically get in it because WNBA college players, players that were great from around the world, can get into that too. Can get into the basketball Hall of Fame. Like you may not think Carmelo deserves to be a Hall of Famer, which he will be, but he's won 3 gold medals and a national title. So that's that. Even if his NBA career sucked and was short, that'd make it in. But forget about those guys. Let's talk about the real strength of the NBA. Listen to these great names I've got. This is the white NBA Hall of Fame, and some of these guys are already in the regular Hall of Fame, but we need to give them the white one too. We need to get Bob Cousy, great Celtic guard from the early 60s. He could really just break the ankles of Oscar Robertson every time. Even today, if he was alive today, the man would, I'm telling you, the man would do a crossover on Kobe, LeBron, even Michael 20 years ago, even Michael now, anybody, Steph, Durant, Russ, Harden, I could go on and on, Chris Paul. Bob Cousy would do a crossover With that two-handed quick dribble of his, he'd do a crossover that would break their ankles instantly, all of them. He was really great. He was on the 60s Celtic legendary teams, along with another white teammate of his, John Havlicek, kind of a guard forward type player, you know, kind of for the 2-3, I think, anyway. But I'll tell you what, that guy was Larry Bird before Larry Bird with athleticism. This guy here again, too, he would have busted all the ankles of anybody in the 80s. I mean, these are people that this is why we need a white Hall of Fame to distinguish these really great elite players that were better than any, you know, when the African Americans started coming in the league. There started to be less attention paid to the great, exciting, endless passing of the teams that were predominantly white. And it's kind of a shame, you know. Guys like Bill Walton and his really great knees that held up really on a consistent basis. Yes, that's Luke's dad, by the way, of Lakers coach. You know, you probably heard him on TV before, old Bill. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame now, you know, but he should be distinguished as the NBA's #1 center of all time. And he's not. Kurt Rambis, the NBA's obviously jobbed him. So he's a proven fact, a great Laker. Mitch Kupchak, another great Laker. All these guys would, I mean, this team already that I've mentioned, you couldn't assemble a team today that could beat them. So this is why, I'm going to name a few more players, but this is why this petition is important that we get out there. Go out to your communities. Go to your schools. Encourage your kids to take the petition to school that we need an NBA white Hall of Fame for the players that have been discriminated against and that have been forgotten. Our culture does not teach the great quickness that Jerry West and Bob Cousy and John Havlicek had. Forget Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete was a flash in the pan, whatever. He was white, yeah, he was cool, okay. And you know, Larry Bird. But I mean, we're talking about guys like Mark Price that would just leave Michael Jordan dizzy all the time. We're talking about Bill Laimbeer. Now, that would have been the Shaq stopper if he was around when Shaq was around. Bill Laimbeer of the Pistons. Maybe I was wrong about Bill Walton being the greatest center of all time. It's probably Bill Laimbeer. Kevin Love could get there. But these are all Hall of Famers that need to be in. Some of them are. But Laimbeer, I don't think, is in the Hall of Fame. That's why we need a white Hall of Fame, because we're being discriminated against our players. Christian Laettner, well, he'll get in there because of his NBA career. And bless his heart, going to Duke with such an open-minded, trustworthy, integrity guy like Mike Krzyzewski. So much integrity. So forward-thinking in his thoughts. Yes. And such a small nose, by the way, too. Only out-rivaled by Ted Cruz's. But that being said, I mean, you know, John Stockton, Steve Nash, and Jason Kidd. Well, Kidd's biracial, so let's cross him off the list, because he'll definitely, with the way the NBA discriminates against white people, they'll let him in. They'll let him in for sure. You know. And also, I'm thinking that I'm really thinking that this is something that we need to get going on Twitter and on Facebook too, and that the facts. I know Kenny will be totally behind this completely. Getting this going when we have time, when we get a full-time sports host, we want to get an all-white NBA Hall of Fame, and even the ones that are already in the regular one, put them in that one, and you know, and you can just see it's obvious by the guys that I named off. It's completely obvious, and I know there's a lot I'm forgetting. Danny Ainge, Greg Ostertag. What the hell was I thinking? I mean, you know, oh, I can't think of his name, but he played for Cleveland a couple of years ago and did yeoman's work. I think he's an Aussie. I forget his name, but, you know, he keeps it up, and he could be a future Hall of Famer. Yeah. God, what the hell was that kid's name? Amendola. Oh, I can't remember. Amendola. I can't remember. I'm getting him, the CBS radio talk show host, and Amendola from the NFL confused, I guess. So, yeah, I think we need to do this. I think it's important. I think it's important to make white people feel comfortable and safe. And with that, I love you all. Make sure you tune into our channels, our shows, and I'll get this petition out here so we can get the NBA White Hall of Fame started.